Hundreds of Chinese companies have slipped onto the US stock exchanges through backdoor mergers with dormant shell companies. Another process, also known as reverse merger, is coming under the scrutiny of the US Securities and Exchange Commission. Well, joining us from New York is Drew Bernstein, who is co-managing partner at Markham Bernstein and Pinchot. Great to have you with us today. Tell us, your firm has recently done a merger to offer services in China so you can provide some scrutiny for American investors. How important is that, given the amount of US companies out now that are seeing relationships with Chinese entities?
Well, I think it's very important. I think a big issue right now has been the issue of reliance on financial statements by investors of Chinese companies. And obviously that comes to the issue of credibility. I think Markham Bernstein and Pinchot right now is, very well positioned to serve the middle market firms right now. Markham is one of the largest firms in the United States. Bernstein and Pinchot has probably some of the most experience operating in China over the last 10 years. So I think it's a really great marriage of expertise and will provide great resources for middle market companies operating in China.
How big a gap is there between the audited accounts of a US firm versus those produced from a Chinese firm?
It can be huge. Chinese companies right now have been actually learning the US market. They had very little experience with it at the beginning. I think they've learned a lot right now. They've come a long way. And I think it's a learning process that's been going on right now. Chinese companies are learning how to do business and learning the rules and responsibilities of being a public company. And U.S. investors are learning about how to invest in Chinese companies.
Jeffrey, there's of course credibility that's raised from some of these companies that are coming to list in America. I just wonder, what are some of the other tricks that some of these promoters are employing to get these Chinese companies to list in America?
Well, I think when you have a market that's so prosperous as China right now, obviously you draw less scrupulous people as well as honest people. And I wouldn't say that it's promoters that are really instigating this. I think there are some, obviously. A lot of it's the companies themselves. Right. So I wouldn't be so quick to place the blame right now of where it is.
Well, with the SEC investigation, are the accounting firms and the law firms being taken to task on some of these issues?
Well, that's been a big issue right now as far as the credibility and how the accounting firms right now are actually getting the work done. Traditionally, the accounting firms had relied a lot on consulting arrangements through alliances and various other relationships they had in order to get the work done. But I think it's a big issue right now that if you can't speak Chinese or read or write Putonghua, then how in fact can you audit a Chinese company? So I think the SEC right now is looking at how the audit firms are actually conducting their audits.
Can we just draw some clarity around this, Drew? Because there's been a lot of big Chinese listings lately, and we've seen enormous price spikes. It's got the attention of a lot of investors. Those firms, though, there's no doubt or risk around their auditing principles, is there? These large listed companies. It's only the smaller ones that are coming to market through backdoor listings.
Well, I wouldn't. Reverse merger is really a method of becoming public, as is an IPO. And I think, the issue right now is not so much how they're going, but the integrity of the company and the people participating in the process. In the accounting industry, the Big Four are obviously the most credible firms in the accounting industry. And why is that? Because of their size. That's why they call them Big Four, not the best four or anything else. And it's one of the reasons that we formed Markham Bernstein and Pinchot to try to offer that type of credibility.
Yeah, and of course the Big Four have had operations in many of these emerging market nations too, like China, for a long time. Thank you, and we do appreciate you speaking with us about your plans in the region as well. Drew Bernstein from Markham Bernstein and Pinchot.